Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Living Critically. Tonight we have Susan Skeptits on from Divine Disbelief. Hi,
Hi,
Susan. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are y'all?
Good.
I'm rushed, but doing well.
Oh, fuck off.
See,
It's so
I
not
knew
my
that
fault.
I knew there was going to be a cat jumping up on me.
I said it like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, this wouldn't be some sort of like atheism or skepticism related stream if there was not a cat's appearance. So,
Probably.
hello. You're a cat.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Susan.
So I am half of the channel Divine Disbelief. Obviously, I'm a crazy cat lady too. My boyfriend Nathaniel and I have had the channel for about a year. We take breaks every now and then. We've sort of taken a slight break from our main live stream show of doing secular news and opinions and stuff like that. But we recently came back. We came back this past Thursday. So we had been focusing a lot on doing some premiere videos. You can just lay down. Stop grooming yourself. Please stop. We've had some videos on like the Lucan census, and we've had some videos on leaving the faith as a Christian influencer and stuff like that. So we do like deep dive videos. And I've been an atheist for about 10 years, probably a little over a decade, and Nathaniel a little under a decade. So he's been an atheist a little bit less time than I have. But I'm formally, I can consider myself a Texpat now, because I moved from Texas to Oregon about 4 months ago. I love it here. Oregon is great. It's a bunch of hippies, and I am so happy living here. It's wonderful.
That being said, I mean, how did you feel about Portland lately, though?
It's been absolutely bonkers. We are fortunate enough to live in one of the suburbs. So we're in the Portland metro, but we live in one of the suburbs. So we're far enough away from, downtown Portland and Portland proper that we're not really getting we're not seeing a lot of what's happening. But we still see people. We live near the corner of like 10th Street and 205, and on that corner right there's pretty much protesters almost every single day that have their BLM signs and stuff like that, and they're like honk for equality and stuff like that. So that's always good to see people like that. And a lot of times it's like these little old ladies, because our suburb is like just a bunch of white people. So these like little old white ladies, and I'm just like, I love you so much. You're the best. You're awesome.
I'm kind of in the same situation as you, because I'm in the suburbs of Atlanta, and I mean, for reals, we thought they were going to burn that shit down, Gone with the Wind style, for a little bit, because they got fucking tense here. Like, far enough out that we were feeling it in the suburbs, and it was fucked. Luckily, there was a change of tone a little bit, and there was a whole shit between the mayor of Atlanta and Trump, and then the governor got pissed about what the mayor said about Trump, so then he issued the, no mask law order, which is fucking nuts. But so we're just generally fucked. It's not like Oregon, where you said it's like hippies and happy people. The South fucking sucks, yo. It is not great.
Yeah, if there's one thing I was really, really glad for, it was being able to get out of Texas when I did, not just because of how people have generally reacted to the protests in general, but like how they've reacted to COVID-19 and stuff like that. Like, Texas is such a clusterfuck right now. Like, it's so much. Like, it's so bad. And I'm just like, how...
Florida, dude.
Yes!
So sucked.
I'm like, how are you just so bad at this? And I'm all like, oh yeah, Texas, Republican leadership, of course.
And yet, they're still touting this narrative that they did it right. They don't want to admit that stuff is getting super fucked right now, because a month ago they were like, look, we opened and it's awesome and wonderful and perfect, and then it got fucked But the White House, Kayleigh McEnany, will not admit whatsoever. She still says, look at the numbers in Texas. Like,
it's like, fuck? We are looking at the numbers in Texas, sweetheart, and they're really awful. Like, it's bad.
It's not as bad, but it's pretty fucking bad here in Georgia. We've had quite an exponential growth lately. The past week and a half, it's been, worse every day. And they're trying to push for our kids to go back to school. And luckily where I live, they gave us the option. They're like, well, you can do online learning, you could do, or you can go into school. And I was like, fuck no, I'm not sending my kid in that petri dish. Like, I'm not doing that. But I'm getting shit for it from people because they believe the narrative that, there's just the only reason we have such high numbers is because the number of fucking tests that we're doing, which is, I can tell you, already not enough. So
we're making a reference point to that. Amanda got slightly annoyed when I brought this up earlier, mainly not because it's a bad thing, but because she doesn't have it over there. But at the minute, we did have, there was an announcement that leisure centres and open public areas were in Northern Ireland, and we've only had something like 9 or 10 cases across all of Northern Ireland in this last 2 or 3 weeks. Relative to America, that's quite good. And they're already considering, they already did move the leisure centres and swimming pools back a week and a half, and there's possible talks of when the kids go back to school next month, because they can pass it on, then leisure centres and all the rest of it will then have to be closed down, because there will be a prominence of COVID around because of the kids. So if that's the only spreading area that we have to do, well, not that we have to, but we want the kids to go back to school. So if there's going to be an instance of spreading through schools, let's limit it. And even at a level like that, it's a good step. Sorry, put your point in, Pat, go on.
It doesn't matter. Once you spread it through the schools, the parents can pass it on to people they're working with, which goes out into the general public.
I'm not saying that it's a complete, I'm saying it's a step. It's a good step.
It's not a step. It does literally nothing. It does nothing. Sorry, I'm not trying to.
He's all like, I'm done. So I can do this.
My own channel.
It's funny because I actually just got a new job like 3 days ago that's actually working for a school here in Oregon. And Kate Brown, who's our governor, has I think they either are pushing back or they will be pushing back. What are you doing, you weird dogs? The dogs are being weird now too. So I don't get them. They pushed it back to, I believe, October, but the school I work for is looking at pushing it back to November even, to where, they're just like, and Oregon has been fairly, they've been pretty good about everything. Everybody's pretty good about wearing masks and obeying stuff and everything, except you get the people who we encountered in a Fred Meyer that were like, we're not gonna wear a mask because I wear one all day at work and I'm not gonna wear it while I'm grocery shopping. And I'm just like, this is the only time that I get out of the house, like, is to go grocery shopping. Like, just wear a mask.
A lot of people. What, Tony?
I just wanted to put in a wee point. I understand the criticism they gave to me, and Susan's bringing up that the only incident that she goes out is to, go for grocery shopping. A lot of people over here in the UK and Northern Ireland, we're still furloughed, so, if the kids are going to school and we're not going to leisure centres, we're at home. We're still getting our wages. So it is some sort of a step. Sorry, I'm going to run away now.
Yeah, poor Nathaniel was furloughed for 3.5 months, I think, and he went back to work like this last weekend. Like this past Thursday was his first day back at work, and he works in a Best Buy. He doesn't work for Best Buy, but he works in a Best Buy. And they sent him like gloves, they sent him masks, they sent him hand sanitizer, they sent him disinfectant wipes and stuff like that. And he already had, a lot of that stuff anyway, but it's like, it's still scary. Like every day he comes home and he's just all like, I've got to get out of these clothes. Like, okay. But yeah, leave it to me to turn, something about COVID into a sex joke. Anyway.
You do realize who you're talking to, yes.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah. If Dave were awake right now, he would make the perfect joke for that. So he's sleeping because he's like.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think of. I love how it just inevitably always turns into stuff about awful leadership and COVID and stuff with every single discussion that everybody has these days.
Getting around it. It's not.
Like it's life at the moment right now. It's what everybody. It's because it is what everything has turned into, and it's just completely unavoidable. So, but yeah, been an atheist for a little over a decade. I used to be one of the assistant state directors for American Atheists. I worked for Planned Parenthood for a little while. I was the treasurer for the Texas Democratic Secular Caucus as well. So I've done, back when I was in Texas, because there was such a need for so many activism-related things, I was super involved with stuff. I did, fundraising for, abortion access funds and stuff like that, and was a big reproductive justice advocate and everything like that. So here in Oregon, because of how everything has been, happening, there hasn't been as much of a need for, that sort of activism up here. But also Portland is like one of the most secular cities in the United States. If it's not the most secular city, it's one of the most secular cities. So there's not as much of a need for this push for, equality when it comes to religious freedom. You don't find yourself as nearly as much in this situation of, I am being actively discriminated against because of my atheism, because of my lack of belief. You don't find that nearly as much. So it's refreshing in a sense, but then it sort of leaves you like, oh my God, what the hell do I do? Like, I've been so used to fighting for this stuff for so long. And now it's nearly as
because I came from, New England, where it just doesn't matter. And I didn't, there was no, I didn't even think about like any kind of activism or anything because it just, nobody gave a fuck. Like,
no,
you're secular, so, okay, that's great. And then, moving to,
I have to say here now, on a cultural level, talking back and forth to people on the street, this, that, and the other, it doesn't matter. But it does when they come to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's just stupid.
But
moving to the South has just been the complete opposite of that. And there's so many churches, and when people meet you, the first thing they ask you is like what church you belong to or whatever. And it's so frustrating. And constantly being told to, be blessed and shit like that too, which never fucking happened in Connecticut. Nobody said bullshit like that, or bless your soul or whatever, bless your heart or whatever. I can't get used to it. Sorry.
I hate that so much, and I feel so bad because like the job that I am working for the next 2 weeks up until my notice is over, it's for a law firm, and it's based in Dallas, and it's a personal injury law firm that primarily deals with low income people who don't they can't really deal with personal injury stuff like car wrecks and truck wrecks and stuff like that. They can't really deal with it by themselves. So they're typically low income, and you usually find a more prominence of religiosity, so I guess that's the word, in lower income people, because that's sort of where they're able to find they're able to, what are you doing? Stop making noise! Stop doing what you're doing! It's weird fucking dogs. They're able to find their community and their respite, I think is the word, in religion. So, and I think I've heard that's, usually there's like a correlation between lower income and religiosity and stuff. But I get told on an almost daily basis, thank you, have a blessed day, oh, God is gonna provide and thank Jesus and stuff like that. And I'm all like, no, fucking thank your attorney for what they did for you. Like, your attorney is the reason that you have, like, are able to cover medical bills associated with this wreck. Like, no, stop doing that. It's not God. If God is the one who solved it, God is the one who got you into this wreck in the first place. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I'm an asshole, so
No. My mother is Catholic, and very, Boston Irish, totally into the church, and her brother works within the church. And she says to me often, she's like, why don't you just try to believe in God? And it's like,
try?
It's not something you can just turn off and on. Like, belief is something you either have or you don't have it. It's not...
Well, you must be convinced of it. It's not something that you can try to do. You must first be convinced of it.
Try to believe that if you jump out that window, you can fly. Like, it just...
Exactly. You must be convinced that you can jump out the window and fly.
Yeah. Like, there's a certain degree of, like, confidence that people assign to the word faith. Like, there's this confidence value that they assign to it. And that's, I think that's why they use the term faith instead of knowge a lot of the time.
And saying that, reference in the faith and confidence is definitely true, because I've had conversations with people and they're like, well, you've got faith that when you go out in the morning that your car will start. And I was like, no. I have evidence to show that every morning it will go out and start. Regardless of it being a cold morning, it's been charged, it's drove, It's not faith, it is confidence in what has happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, there is evidence to show that this has happened.
Uniformitarianism, is it? Sorry, wrong show.
It's like, I do activism, I don't do all of that other sort of stuff.
I know, man, we're trying to learn. I'm trying to learn, and Manda is very supportive, so she gets dragged along, and I have to give Manda credit. She is a wonderful girlfriend that she learns just enough to be involved, but doesn't care. She's very, very wonderful. Oh, no, you're laughing. I showed a picture the other day in a stream, and it was like, this is what I see when I'm doing my thing. And she was like, oh, that's totally Streamlabs. And I was like, no, honey, but I understand why you think that, because you're trying. It's nice. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's fun. No, but you're making the effort. This is why you're a wonderful girlfriend. So, not distracting, and back to Susan. Back to Susan.
Just like when I'm on Dave's, I'm normally not paying attention. He knows that shit, so.
I love the both of y'all so very much.
But you understand this as well, Susan. I'm sure that there's things that Nathaniel does that you have learned. Oh, did she mute when she screamed? I'm sure there's things...
no. Oh my god. Nathaniel is so ridiculously smart.
Totally tangenting here.
He will always be just all like, no, like, you're really, really smart. I'm just all like, you don't understand. Like, when I say you're really smart, like, Nathaniel, you are really fucking smart. He'll talk about, and he does this, he'll do Periscope live streams, which is just sort of like a free-for-all sort of thing. He'll be all like, oh, I want to talk about this. So he'll go on Periscope, which is like the little Twitter, basically, version of like the YouTube live streams. And he will be like, I want to talk about, did Jesus ever claim to be God? And he did that, and he did that both on Periscope and in one of our deep dives once. And he's just going, and he's just all like, biblical evidence, and historical, and scholarly, and and I'm just like, why am I here? Like, this is so, like, he's like way up here, and I'm just like, I mean, I can understand it about this level right here, and then he's like way up here, and I'm just all like, love you. So I understand a lot of what he says to a certain extent, but I've only gleaned that knowledge because I've gotten it from him.
No,
So
I'm totally proud of it. You be there to support the person. You be there to show support. Like, again, tonight, making a reference point about how wonderful Manda is. I had a certain person on. She was in the live chat. She was there. I asked her afterwards and she was like, great show. What's your favourite bit? I had it open. You know, it's like, that's fine.
What I said.
That's fine. I know. And I wouldn't make you watch anything like that. I wouldn't be that cruel. But thank you for having a view.
First of all, I was on the show. I started at the beginning of the show. So fuck off. Like, sorry, Susan.
Okay, right. And just before you go any further, are we going to push the truth that you WhatsApp me, that you said thank you whenever you left? Or are you going to push the truth that you pushed in the live chat where like, that fucker kicked me?
No, he didn't actually kick me. I told him to boot me out. I just wanted to have a hard time.
Get me out of here.
So yeah, Planned Parenthood.
I love it. I fucking love it.
At the end of the day,
yeah.
if you can't tell your partner you're an absolute cunt and then get away with it, what's the point?
Right.
I tell you every day, so.
I will have
Daniel and I will keep each other in check a lot of the time, so it's just all like, I'm all like, you're getting a little too far there, kind of going into like the asshole territory, and he's just like, okay, dial it back a little bit. I'm just still like, oh, you're good, thank you.
There used to be
like having a channel with your partner though, like, because you guys do stuff that's you know, you videotape and then you edit and stuff.
Yeah. So I really, really enjoy it just because Nathaniel and I play off each other really well. We very much have the same kind of sense of humor. We're both very dry a lot of the time, and in most situations we're very dry. But you know, he definitely brings the scholarly stuff to it, and while I bring like creativity and pop culture stuff and sort of make it a little bit more relatable, because with our Luke and Census videos, you know, he wrote the whole script. Like he wrote that whole entire thing. But when it came to actually assembling stuff and getting stuff put together and working on it in the creativity sense, I was the one who did a lot of it. And he did some of it that was like, you know, I'm working, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning and we have to get this like released very, very soon sort of stuff. But then again, at the same time, the second one was, you know, primarily him. But I try to make it relatable in the sense of you sort of have to break it down for people a little bit more, because a lot of what he talks about in his stuff is very technical, very scholarly, and I'm just like, okay, well, you might kind of want to try to do it like this instead. Like, you might try to want to like tweak stuff, and you know, he definitely appreciates the input, and I appreciate it when he's just all like, okay, no, this is way too casual for what you're going for. Like, there was some of the stuff in my Christian influencer video that he was just like, you know, I know what you're trying to do, I get it, but you might want to tighten up the language a little bit so it's not so like informal and casual, because you know, I was trying to go for it to be like, you know, this is informative, and you know, these are people who, you know, you want to relate to, because it was a video about Josh Harris, who wrote I Kissed Dating Goodbye, Megan Phelps Roper, formerly of the Westboro Baptist Church, and John Steingard of the band Hawk Nelson, who actually was the recent like, you know, coming out as an atheist, sort of as a Christian rock artist sort of person. And he's just like, people aren't quite gonna be as eager to hear it if you're just sort of flippant about stuff. And I was like, no, dude, you're totally right. He's like, you know, sort of tightens up some of the language, and he's my script editor on stuff. I'm his script editor on stuff. So we give each other the feedback back and forth. So he's so easy to work with. Like he's very intense about stuff, but sometimes I just need the kick in the ass to try and meet that level of intensity. So he's pretty wonderful. I'm just gonna sit here and blather on.
Before Manda gets all modest and stuff like that, I feel the exact same way. You know, Manda has a fantastic message that she promotes in this channel, especially with the climate change videos and things like that. It's information that needs to be put out there. And I asked her the other day if she would go and buy a green bed sheet, so whenever I'm doing the videos, I can make it all disappear and make it better and nicer, and as you say, make it more appealing to people, because she has a fantastic message. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what's out there, but people are stupid. People like lights and flashy things and stuff like that, and you have a fucking fantastic message. You are very well educated. You know, there is so much that you have to give to the community and to the people as a whole, and I can totally understand. And yeah, you know, you shout at me for these things, but I do what I can to make you look better. It's because you have a better image than what I have. I fucked up. Jesus, I realised what that just sounded like. I'm leaving.
Oh, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Brian, too. I just don't, like, for me, I just want to say what I have to say. I don't care what it looks like or whatever. I'm very blasé about what I do, pretty much. So when you told me to get a green bedsheet, I was like, that's too much work.
Yeah, that was literally too much work. I was like, right, well, you have to pin a bedsheet behind you so that I can spend about 3 hours editing a video, right? You have to put a bedsheet behind you.
It's like, yeah, we got, like, we don't have it up right now, obviously, but we got like a green screen thing and everything, and we were all like, yes, this is gonna be great. And I think we used it like 5 times on some live streams, and it's just like, there was a lot of effort and we don't use it. Like, it's currently sitting balled up in the closet right here.
See, that's the wonderful thing about Amanda doing edited videos. If she puts the green screen behind her, I just have to make green vanish. So there's nothing fancy about it. She just has to buy a green sheet. I just need a solid color, woman. You could buy a pink sheet as long as it's a fucking solid color. Moving on.
Well, like, I had Godless Engineer, when I first started my channel. He was trying to give me advice. He's like, yeah, you need like to come in with a hook and all this stuff and tell them about what you're going to talk about. I'm like, what I talk about is for like 7 fucking minutes. It's weird to put a hook in for a tiny little video like that, but I appreciate the help. But
that doesn't work for everyone. Yeah, like I think you've got to make stuff sort of speak for itself. In a lot of cases, like, if people are going to want to listen to what you're going to say, then you don't need a hook. And if people don't want to listen to what you have to say, then fuck them.
No, Amanda has a lot of good information out there, and we've been talking about a few things. I wanted to do something on the channel, and yeah, too much fucking work. That's basically what I do in a video. No, it's not. It's totally different, you know. It's a different approach. It's totally different. Fuck's sake.
She's like,
yeah.
He wanted me to talk about something I was actually working on at work in one of my videos, and he wanted me to do a fucking, like,
I asked you to take the information on the stuff that you work on and to do a PowerPoint presentation to show people what the fuck is actually what you're doing. Because people are like, oh, lovely video and all that. People are stupid, Pat. I'm sorry, not all of our audience, but people are stupid.
Sure.
Right? And you say stuff, right? And you say stuff. And people are like, oh, that's wonderful. Can I have a citation, please? I want you to do a PowerPoint presentation where you put the information out there. You show people the actual effort that you put in to what you're doing. You know, when you don't promote yourself enough, the effort that you put in to what you're doing is like, oh, I run simulations. Do you? So you hit a button on a computer. That's it. That's all you do. Oh yeah, but when I'm converting Fahrenheit to Celsius, I also cheat. So you do no work. You just hit a button on a computer. So you went to school for 14 years to hit a fucking button. You know, the work that you do and the effort that you put in. No, the work that you do and the effort that you put in is fantastic. And people need to know, they need to be aware of it. And it's the details that convince people. You must be convinced of something before you believe in something. You want people to believe in climate change? Convince them it's true. I'm going to leave now.
He's like, I'm just gonna go.
The problem, though, is that when you have people that don't believe in stuff like that, there really is, it's just like flat earthers too, and anti-vaxxers. There's not really a whole lot you can say to them to convince them otherwise, because they're set in their belief that is very anti-science.
Yeah. So. And I saw somebody post on Facebook earlier, you know, we need to be more willing to have conversations with anti-vaxxers and, you know, anti-maskers and stuff like that. And I'm just all like, there's no having conversations with them. Like, you can, like, the conversation that you want to have is not for them. I mean, I understand, like, you know, you want to have a conversation for the people who are listening and for the people who are, you know, around, who might be, you know, on the fence about something, but like, you're not going to convince the person that you're talking to. You're just not. Yeah. Like, that sort of conversation in that sense isn't going to be fruitful. So you can't go in convinced that you're going to, you know, persuade the other person, the anti-vaxxer, the flat earther, or the anti-masker, or, you know, anti-climate change people. Like,
yeah.
But again,
I mean, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it's your show. I'm going to be quiet so I don't get shouted at. Go on ahead.
You do you run into the same kind of situation when you come against pro-lifers that have like their own set of beliefs that they just, it is immovable to them?
Oh yeah, and even when you get them to admit like that being pro-life, you know, is part of the choice. Like, if you have a pregnant person who says, I want to carry this child to term and keep the child, that's a choice. I want to carry this child to term and give the child up for adoption, that's a choice. They do not realize that their rhetoric of giving birth to the child and their whole like, no, you have to protect the fetus and stuff like that. They don't realize that that's part of choice. That is fundamentally a part of choice. It's when you are denying somebody access to the other choices, the other multitudes of choices that they could have. You know, even going so far as to, you know, going back to, you know, sex education and access to contraceptives and stuff like that, because that is all part of choice. You know, it's they're so convinced that they are compassionate and that they're a voice for those who are voiceless and blah blah blah. But like, they're really just so stuck in their ways of being convinced that they're right and that they are the ones who are ultimately looking out for people. And you know, they use the same arguments. They're always like, you know, well, it's a life and and life begins at conception and blah 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 blah. And you just hear the same things over and over and over. And it's at a point where it's like, there's some of the stuff that I'll debate with people, like, to a certain extent, but then it's like, just so tired of having this argument sometimes.
You see, the reason that people like yourself, Susan, and the reason that you keep doing that is because you go to these things and you have the same argument with different people over and over and over again. But regardless of whether it's put on television or whether it's there or the people walking in or out, there isn't an audience to a certain point and a certain degree of what's happening. That's why we protest. That's why we are activists. That's why we do our thing. And it's not necessarily to convince the person on the other side that they're wrong. From our point of view, we come there to point out the choice that's available, the options that's available, and to leave, and for other people to watch. The fundamentalists on the other side that are screaming, that have their pickets, you're never going to convince them people. And from their point of view, they are there to convince you. They are there to change your mind to what they believe. When we go to these things, well, not that I have, but when you go to these things and we stand up for these points and we do these efforts that we do, we are there to present a choice. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. The other side is coming across going, if you don't do what I fucking say, you're an asshole.
Exactly. Or even worse, that you deserve to be put to death.
Yeah, and
because that's been on the docket in numerous states.
Exactly.
You're going to punish the women and the doctors. The women who have abortions and the doctors who perform abortions. You're going to punish them by death, and it's just like.
It falls down on what I think is the left side, the skeptical side, these sort of things we think. And more at the end of the day, we always try and push a choice for everybody. Everybody is the same. We want a choice for everyone. We are not trying to push any sort of a view. Me and Manda disagree on a lot of things. I'm sure you and Nathaniel have a lot of, well, maybe not a lot. You seem a lot happier than us. She screams at me a lot, See, I'm an asshole.
I'm just good at screaming. That's all.
But the point I'm trying to make is, we're not trying to point out that everybody must think the same. We are trying to point out that everybody must have the choice. And I think that's the main difference that we want to put across from where we are. As I said earlier in my stream with Jeff, and Jeff was talking about, if we take up atheism, we'll start thinking more logically and critically. I'm thinking we should start teaching logical and critical thinking at a younger age, so that we don't start with the atheism. It comes from that, and from a lot of different points of view, from abortion and stuff like that. It is not the fact that you must think like me. You must think for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that idea of the critical thinking and the getting away from the groupthink stuff, that's what scares the shit out of evangelicals and conservatives, who are typically evangelicals these days. It scares the shit out of them because that's what they have going for them, is a lot of the hive mind stuff and the denial of the choices. And I can speak about the whole you've got to have the choices and everything, but it's just like you were saying, we want to make sure that people in general, and especially kids, have the choice and the options of, okay, I can learn about this because this is something that I want to learn about, or I can learn about this. They say, and this has to do a lot with the creation stuff in the schools, which drove me bonkers, but I loved my biology teacher when I was in high school, because he said he taught the evolution stuff, and then he was like, okay, so since this is Texas, legally I'm required to tell you that there are other options as to how life came about and stuff like that, but some people say that it was created. They're full of shit, so we're moving on now.
But you see, that's the thing. He gave the option. As a person from that point of view, and from technically, if we can put people on sides, from our side, he gave the option, he gave his opinion, he put it out there, and I can guarantee you that, because probably by law, and he fucking had to, if any of them students came and asked him any more questions, he would do that. Where from a religious point of view, even sometimes when it's law, they ignore that. Especially in America with the, separation of state and church. School grounds, courts, 10 Commandments, I think that's one of the main reasons why the Satanic Church came about, was, right, we're going to make ourselves a religion, which they are now, and if you're going to put shit up, we're going to put shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like when they've got that, I think it's in Arkansas, they've got that Baphomet statue and stuff. That Baphomet is amazing. We actually have an emergency Baphomet in a box, like, print thing, that it's like, in case of evangelical emergency, you can put up this Baphomet statue, and it's just like this print, and it's really great.
Move your head far enough to the right, you've got Cthulhu behind you as well.
Yes, yeah! I was like, which way? There we go. You can see Cthulhu. Hi, Cthulhu. Nathaniel's got another one on his desk over there too, because we really love Funko Pops.
I actually have a bit of a comparative story to the whole you growing up in Texas and them teaching both. So in my high school, I was in a class that was 2 science periods a day for all 4 years. That covered all the sciences, and we had to write papers at the end of the year. To almost like a final exam, but extra. And my thesis for, I think, my junior year, I wanted to do evolution versus creationism. And our teacher she was brand new that year, and she was from the South. So she, like, when I brought her the idea, she was like, "Oh my God, I don't think you can do that." And she was like, "I have to ask the principal." And the principal was like, "This is Connecticut."
Like, it's not what you think it is up here. No. Like, she's okay with doing this.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And his, like, it was funny. My bio teacher, his name was Mr. Sprague. His thing was like, and it's arguments that I've heard these days, which I really appreciate. He was like, if you want stuff that's not based in science, then you have to go outside of a science classroom for that. He's like, this is not based in science. He's like, this is not something that is, supported by evidence. This is something that is based in religion. If you want something that's based in religion, go to a church.
Yeah.
Like, it's the whole thing with, we don't want, we want our creationism taught in schools. No, you don't, because they're not going to be very nice to it.
Yeah. And it's really fucked up to ask actual science teachers to, like, push that kind of shit, especially since most of them, don't believe it. So, Go ahead, Robbie.
I remember, like, my mother, as Amanda knows, I would describe her as spiritually Christian. It's a very open wide. You get what I mean by using these colloquial words, And the books that I remember growing up that's predominant in my mind, and one of them I still have up the stairs in the attic with brown fucking pages, it's that old, is 500 Questions and Answers and the entire series of the Hardy Boys. And these sort of things, whenever you're at a young age, definitely encourages, thinking like that. And it did encourage, and I was very lucky to have someone from that background that did encourage us to go to church and have these experiences, but still at the same time have that base and core that was, think about things. Look at it from an objective point of view. Look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah. I got really lucky with my parents in the sense that if I did not continue that sentence, that would be a very strange sentence. I'm very fortunate because my father never went to church with us. Like, my mother and my sister and I would go to church on Sundays. We'd go to an Episcopalian church, which is already, was already a pretty liberal church anyway. But when I was about 8 or 9, my mom stopped taking us to church. My sister and I would keep going, but my mom stopped taking us. And I didn't hear the story until a number of years later of, why my mom stopped going to church. I knew she became an atheist. Like, I knew it, but I sort of didn't really completely understand it at the time. And I heard, God, how old was I? I think it was like 25 or 26, because it was after my ex-husband and I got divorced, and when I had, already moved back in with her and stuff. She told me the story of, she was sitting in church one day in the choir, in the choir loft and everything. She was in the choir, like, we did all the extracurricular church stuff. She was sitting in the choir loft, and she was listening to the sermon. And she said, I was just sort of sitting there listening to it. And it's like this light bulb went on over my head. And I thought, well, this is all bullshit, isn't it? And I'm just like, Mom, that's the best. I was like, how have have you never told me this story? And she's just like, I mean, you're religious, so I didn't want to tell you the story. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my God, I love this. Yeah, my mom
thought like that.
My mom's pretty kick-ass in a lot of senses, so that's definitely the one that I was just like, this is the best. Thank you for telling me this.
Along them same sort of lines, it's quite funny because I have a friend of mine that would describe himself as a Christian. He's a deist, he just doesn't understand it. And yeah, you know what I mean. And I remember when we were growing up and we were in the living room and something came up or whatever, the conversation came up, you know, about God or whatever. And it was in my house and my mother happened to walk into the living room just as this particular person asked me a question, and my mother laughed and he asked her why she laughed, and he was like, he knows the Bible better than you do. She just turned and walked back out of the room again, you know. And my mother, being a Christian, knowing my position, you know, it was just like, yeah, argue away, I'm not even going to get involved, I'm fucking out of here.
She's like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Like,
yeah, no, but it usually does find, you know, the best way to make an atheist is to get them to read the Bible. And I know it's a meme and I know it's a fucking broad brush, but it is just,
yeah,
you know,
it's a stereotype that fits a lot of the time. Yeah.
In saying that, we need stereotypes. If we didn't have stereotypes, and as I said to you earlier, my mother's a spiritual Christian. Like, you know, you could delve into that and you could find out that she's not technically this, that, and the other, and all the rest of it. But it gives you a general idea in 2 words of exactly what she is. Stereotypes are definitely necessary. If not liked by the populace, they are necessary.
Yeah, I think as long as they're not necessarily like harmful stereotypes, like something that's, you know, in such a broad brush that it's, you know, it's necessarily a harmful thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. Remind me when we go offline so I don't get demonetized and that people actually hit me. No. But I have one of them for when we go offline.
I keep seeing my neighbor out of the corner of my eye because there's a.
But it just at the end of the day,
I keep seeing my neighbor out of the corner of my eye just like moving around, and I'm just like, what is going on? Because I'm convinced that they're like staring into my window, and I'm just like, what is?
It's creepy.
At the end of the day, it just goes to show how everybody disagrees. I have used a description of myself as like, I'm generally 90% left wing, but you know, I do have some right wing ideas I agree with, you know, and it doesn't mean that I agree with the extremes. See, look at Manda's face. She's like, you're not 100% left? Fuck you.
A little bit.
See? You know.
See, and it's funny because like I'm both Nathaniel and I think it's why, you know, because we were friends for a little while before we eventually like started dating, and I think it's why we sort of like drifted towards each other, was because, you know, we agreed on so many things. Like we are both extremely left wing, like extremely left, like super left wing, and then like, you know, finding that out about each other, and then finding out about, you know, how he came to atheism and I did, because his deconversion story is a lot different than mine. Like I basically just, when I was about 21 years old, 20 or 21, I just sort of stopped going to church because it was like, I'm 21 now. I'm just going to go out and get drunk all the time because, you know, I waited until I was 21 to actually get drunk.
I'm in Ireland. I'm not going to comment, no.
Well, no, because
I didn't wait either, though.
I think that comes from the fact that I had that self-imposed religion because I was always around, like, you know, the good kids and stuff. And it wasn't until I was about 17 that I was actually around, like, church kids who were, like, typical teenagers. Because it was the night, it was prom my junior year of high school. This is such a tangent, and I'm sorry. It was prom my junior year of high school. I went with a few friends that I knew from band, and they brought a bunch of their church friends with them. So after prom, we all went to the beach, and a bunch of them got shit-faced drunk. I didn't, because I was just all like, I'm a good little girl. But
we have no good little girls in this channel. Sorry, you're good.
I mean, nowadays, not so much.
Brilliant.
But you know, everybody else got really drunk and they went to church the next day hungover, and I was just like, wait, is this normal? Like, is this normal for teenagers? And then like hearing people talking about stuff growing up, I'm just like, oh, that was normal. Like me not drinking and me like not going out and partying and doing that stuff when I was a teenager. Like that was the not normal thing.
I
So
have to
I was
send
like,
you a video of it's like an Irish stereotype video, and it's a guy. It's like a skit, and a guy turns up for work, and he's like an hour late, and he's like, "Why the fuck are you late?" And he was like, "I was fucking out last night, and I'm hungover." Right, well, shut up and get on to your test now. You know, it's just normal over here. You know. On a personal note, from
push the stereotype.
oh no, it's total stereotype. You know, it is. It's just on a funny note. My uncle was one of the first people who gave me like a wee half pint of cider and things like that when I was like 11 or 12, you know, New Year's Eve and Christmas and things like that. And possibly within this last 5 or 6 years, I'm over 30 at this stage, and we go out for dinner, we haven't meeting, you know, haven't talked in a while, and I have a cider for my dinner, and he was like, oh, you're having a drink? And yeah, he's found God in this last 10 years. He has totally blanked out the fact that he was the person who gave me my first drink.
oh my god, seriously?
Seriously, totally does not remember me doing that. When my granny had a stroke and we were in the hospital and we were all talking around and stuff, and I swore a few times, he commented on my swearing. And yeah, I know, he's gone the entire opposite direction. And I have a strong memory in my mind, and I've said this to ex-Jehovah Witnesses. I remember them coming to the door when my uncle was drunk, and he invited them in, and they asked to leave after about 45 minutes. You know.
That's a lot for JWs to be all like, all right, we're going to go now.
And that's all been blanked out because he found God, you know. And
oh my gosh. Like, you just won't acknowledge it now.
again, it just brings reference point back to the fact that we, on our side, on our group, our evil, baby-eating, fucking barbecuing, worshipping, all the rest of it, type of skeptical thinking, promotes thinking for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the fact that he's went down that route means that he's compartmentalized, he's blanked it out. It's like, oh, I fucked up then, so I'm going to ignore that because it's okay, because God will forgive me. So I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to remember it. I have been forgiven.
Yeah.
We have to take responsibility for our own actions. And
yeah. It's all about just not wanting to acknowledge that, you know, the things that you've done. Because I'm obviously I'm not a believer in the whole, you know, everything happens for a reason stuff. I don't play into that bullshit. But I do believe that every experience that you've had in life has brought you to where you are at this moment in time. You know, if it is sort of like a butterfly effect thing, you know, if something else had gone differently, then you could be at a different point, you know, in a different point in your life. But, you know, the dumb shit that I did, you know, when I was 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, you know, that's all shit that has taught me lessons of what to do, what not to do, you know, the things that I enjoy doing, things that I don't enjoy doing.
yeah,
It's all taught me these lessons. And I am willing to, you know, say, yeah, I've done some stupid shit in my life. Getting married at the age of like 23 to a guy that I had not known very long was some stupid shit.
I had my kid at 23, so yeah.
But your kid's
my mother had
awesome.
me at 20. All right, I'm wonderful and fantastic.
Yeah.
Shush. In saying that, I do know a guy at 18 fell in love with a woman from Bulgaria. He then spent upwards of $7,000 in loans trying to get back and forth over a couple of years. He married at 18. She came over here. She used the connections from being married to go to Queen's University and spent her last year in America doing marine biology and cheating on him. He then went to America and caught her and then spent a year in America finding himself. So you know, he came back a better person, but in saying that, it's a fucking sting to find that sort of shit out like.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
He
like
bought a car. He literally just bought an old banger and drove and did part-time jobs and spent an entire year in America before he came back with no intention of doing it. but when he came back, he was a better person. He now has a wife and a kid, and he's happy and fantastic, and
Yeah. People are gonna be assholes, like, regardless, and you've just gotta it's in how you deal with those sorts of situations that, you know, ultimately teaches you what kind of a person you are. Like, I think if I hadn't, I realize this is such a tangent. This is all, I always do stuff like this with the just complete tangent. But I'm convinced that, like, if I hadn't gotten married, then I would, you know, not be where I am at all. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't enjoy doing because I wouldn't have found out about stuff. Like, my ex-husband is the one who introduced me to, like, there's a band that I really love called Drive By Truckers, who is one of my favorite bands of all time. Like, I would never have listened to them. I would have never listened to fucking Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I would have never watched Buffy if not for my ex-husband. I would not. It's like, no, you're getting kicked out for that. But the fact is that, like, you know, I had all these experiences and I learned things from that relationship, and I've learned things, you know, it's just like I learned things from my time being religious. You know, I learned things that I will put up with and how I can deal with certain situations, and, you know, there's stuff that you learn from stuff like that. And you can't just go back and say, oh my God, I wish this had never happened. Or you can't, I mean, you can, but I think...
No,
I'd be in a totally different place if I hadn't been religious in my youth and my teenage years. Like, I'd be a totally different person. So.
I guess that's why I'm super evil, because I was never really religious.
Well, no, like, well, I think with, you know, people who are fortunate enough to not have to go through a lot of what religion puts you through.
Oh no, I got put through it because I was raised in the church. I just never really actually believed. So
yeah,
I was an altar server and everything like that. I went to church every fucking weekend. Yeah,
I did. I was an acolyte. I did that stuff in the Episcopalian church too, because Episcopalianism is just Catholicism light. It's just like, you know, diet Catholic. So
yeah, we call that Church of Ireland over here. Good Protestant Catholic based, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's basically
about
Catholic Church without standing and sitting, without standing up and sitting down.
Kneel up, down. Kneel up, down.
Hearing right now, so I'm just saying. Just yell at me if I ask what you said.
I was just talking about you. So hi. Hi.
I just swam in a lake.
Good.
Ew.
With your friends all day.
Also, look at bro.
Honey.
She's totally not live streaming.
Is he stinky right now?
My own
stinky right now.
Anyway, here, wait, hold on.
You're the one that called me over here.
Because I wanted you to say hi, because I was literally just talking about my own fucking channel. How everybody's talking about them liking Buffy. Well, Angel's actual name is Angelus.
Yes, I know you told me that before, which is awesome. Which is actually a big reason why I mentioned that, why I said Buffy instead of Firefly.
Yeah, no, I love Firefly too.
I still haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Still haven't watched it.
Anyway, nope, shush. Angel, hold on.
Angel, stop ruining the stream! You're ruining the stream!
Fine, I'm used to it. What was I going to say? Nope, totally lost it. Oh, B has a show on very soon, so we should wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
Totally with it right now.
B,
sorry.
Post your link and, yeah.
She is not having this shit right now.
No, that really does not look like a happy kitty.
So, do you have anything coming up, Susan?
Ideally, I don't know if it will happen, but we're looking at probably doing another live stream this week. I don't know if it'll be Wednesday or Thursday. Sort of all depends on what we get put together. Because we are just sort of like, okay, we're gonna get back into this. I'm gonna be having a new show starting called Explain Like I'm 5. It was supposed to start this week. Some stuff happened. with getting it on this week, but it should be starting next week. It's called Explain Like I'm 5. It's basically where people from the community come on and talk about stuff that is not particularly what stuff that they're necessarily pigeonholed for. Like some people are talking about, you know, stuff with the science stuff that they really like, but it's not stuff that they necessarily talk about all the time. My friend, I've got Neil the 604 Atheist who's supposed to come on. Nick Sauter from In Time is going to be coming on.
Shooter.
Amanda, Suitor, there we go, thank you. It's like, I never know how to say people's names. Amanda, whenever you want to come on, I would like you to come on and talk about something that you really, really love. That might be something that you don't necessarily get to talk about a whole lot. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
The fuck did he go? There you go.
Oh no, that's fine.
And Matt Pig, whenever you want to come on.
Oh yeah, no, it's alright. No, I totally get that. Yeah, I know. I just look pretty as fuck.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. You know, if if somebody cancels, I'm usually not doing much. So you know.
Oh, fuck off.
I'll get you all scheduled in for the next two of them that I have. It's usually Saturday. Saturdays at noon Pacific, so 3 Eastern.
So 8 UK.
So I don't know what conversion
8
that
UK.
is. Okay. So if you want to do that on a Saturday, then we can do that. So we'll be doing up the live streams soon. We'll have that probably starting next week. Got some other stuff that we're working on that has sort of been in the works for a while, but now that Nathaniel's back at work, we're sort of going to have to figure out how to prioritize what videos we'll be working on and what we won't be. So, yeah. And I start a new job in a couple weeks, so I'm really excited. So I'm stoked about that. Cool. Yeah. But that's about it. Yeah. Not a ton of stuff. We're on Twitter, Divine Disbelief. You can find us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/Divine Disbelief. You can follow. We also have an Instagram, too. I always forget about Instagram. That's Divine Disbelief.
Don't forget Motley Crew. You're Motley. Your tag is not Divine Disbelief. Your personal.
Motel Cowboy.
Yeah, fucking Motley Crew. Don't.
Motel Cowboy. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, it's Motel Cowboy. It's a Pinto Bennett, the famous Motel Cowboys. That's who it's after. What else? We also have the corgis have a Twitter and an Instagram as well. They're Dose Corgis 15. They're very, very cute. The cat does not have Twitter or Facebook.
I love the way you say that like it's a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Fucking cat.
It is a thing, though.
No, but the poor cat hasn't got Twitter yet. You know, you didn't get that set up. Cat hasn't got Twitter. It's like it's got fucking opposable thumbs that it can.
I might do that.
Are you done? Are you done? I was gonna ask you what you had coming up, but you can kind of go fuck yourself now.
That's fine. I don't like talking about it, so that's cool with me.
Oh, that is bullshit. Tell us what's happening tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 5 Eastern, which I think would be 3 Pacific.
2.
Fuck. 2 Pacific. We are having a birthday stream on my channel. The channel is 1 year old, and as of yesterday, I was 37. So we're hoping to have some fun. I've got my best and brightest and closest that I've lined up, and I think Amanda's got a few extra people and a few things, and I'm just hoping to sit and have a bit of fun with some of my friends, and my friends have decided that they're going to try and make me cry. So yeah, it's going to be.
Nobody ever said that.
No, that's not true. Dave has said that. Dave has said the hashtag make Math Pig cry.
Yes.
He literally
Keep
said.
talking about it.
So well, look, I'm a fucking emotional mess. You know what I'm like. So that's what's happening tomorrow. 10 UK, 5 Eastern Standard. Somebody post the fucking link in the chat and do their mod thing.
I love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Next week on here, Chris Shelton and I are talking about Operation Paperclip. And then on the 16th, I have a panel show. Although I don't know if it'll be on here or a different channel, but with a bunch of people. That should be fun. But at the same time that this is normally on. So that's about it.
Yeah, if I can say anything, if you don't subscribe to the channel, definitely follow Manda on fucking Twitter, because that panel, I know who's going to be on that panel, and every fucking bastard in the fucking chat's going to know everybody on that panel. It's going to be amazing, alright? Amazing.
Susan knows.
Well, like,
Yeah, you fucking know. It's going to be fucking amazing. So if anything, follow Manda on Twitter, because if it's not here, she'll definitely be involved. She is the one that set the whole thing up. She needs credit for what she has done. And see, we're all nodding, you're shaking your head. Take the credit, woman.
Because why do you feel like they talk me up on my own channel? They're here. It's fine.
so what we're here for.
Yes.
That's exactly what we're here for.
Well, thank you, Susan, as always. I
Thank you.
always love having you on.
Thank you for
And anytime.
And
Was
the
that
kitty
where I
too.
end the stream now? Do I have to end the stream? Okay.
I
Producing.
need to look think critically. That's now I'm done. But I thank you for everyone for coming in the chat. I'll see you guys next week.
Do you want to say living critically a little less rushed, and I'll give you some time? No.
No, not really. I'm good.